fuck, shit.
Hey everybody, welcome we are welcoming you to the Descent. I got so excited right there.
Woo!
You know, we were all hyped up. I'm a professional.
It's
This
too
is what
early.
I do.
Yeah, but you
It's
were like
not too early.
pumped.
I am that excited that we are kicking off the Descent here. My name is Rachel. I'm your host. I'm with Todd. I'm with Adam. We are covering D&D Beyond's influence here at the event. And guys, I'm honored to be joining you here at this table because
Thank you for being here.
Yeah.
thank you for having me. Honestly, D&D is an incredible game. We've had so many people coming into the space over the years, and D&D Beyond has been a huge part of that, bringing in new players. But we're gonna bring it way back. So first, Todd, I want you to tell me what you do for D&D Beyond and lay a little groundwork.
I am for D&D Beyond. I am the creative manager, so I manage all the creative that's on the D&D Beyond site. And it's actually a really good story because I met Adam at an event like this. I was doing my own thing called Dungeon Life at the time.
The Stream of Annihilation.
Stream
right?
of
The very
Annihilation.
first one.
This
Oh my
exact thing 2 years ago. And I'm just going through interviews, and then I meet Adam. He's like, "Oh, I'm making this website that's gonna like help people with character stuff." I'm like, "Oh, I've been begging for that." And he just sits next to me and shows me the app. And I'm not kissing his butt by any means. He shows me the app, and I'm like looking through it, and he's like, "And it does this?" I'm like, "No." And I was just like, "This is like the coolest thing ever." And then it was like a year later that I was like, "Hey, do you just want all my content on your site?" That makes sense. Like, I'm creating all these videos and all this creative content. You're literally like making the other half of what I'm doing, right? Like, I'm making videos to help people understand D&D and understand the lore. Adam is making it so it's more accessible than ever to everyone.
So one of the most information-focused, dedicated D&D fans saw your product, Adam, and you blew his mind.
Yeah.
That's apparently what happened. Yeah.
No, for real. Like, I was like, no. I mean, you remember my reaction.
Yeah, I do.
So, yeah.
You kind of geeked out a little bit, but I remember just being blown away by the content that Todd was putting together, and I knew that we didn't even have plans at that point in time to really branch out into original content, and it's become one of the really most exciting parts of D&D Beyond, the fact that you can just go to DDB on a daily basis, see new articles from James Hake. He's really killing
Fantastic
it.
writer.
And all the videos that Todd's putting out, and we've worked with some great guests over the last couple of years. So, yeah, it's a really exciting part of D&D Beyond, and it came from just a friendship and a relationship forged at an event just like this.
Yeah, it was not organized. Like, it really was like, "Do you want to hang out?" "Yeah, I want to hang out."
That's the true magic.
Yeah.
Friendship.
And now we're doing like some charity streams as well. So now like we're giving back. It's just been like a huge experience.
Well, we found out how Todd met you. Adam, how did you start building this product? What inspired you, and how did it come to be what it is today?
So I love Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh, yeah.
If
Yeah.
that
That
was
helps.
not understood, I want to make sure everyone is aware that I love D&D. And so I was working in a wonderful but a little bit boring job for a decade or so. Decided maybe I wanted some adventure. Joined a gaming company, Curse Gaming. And when I joined the company, we started talking about, hey, are there some areas we can move outside of video gaming that make sense for us? And I was like, ooh, pick me. And so ultimately, after a couple of weeks being there, I'm like, hey, we should do this Dungeons & Dragons thing. And the way that we got this to happen was I introduced Dungeons & Dragons to people in the office. Many of the people had not played before, and so we had a single session. We started out with Tyranny of Dragons, Horde of the Dragon Queen. We were going into that town of Greenest that's just on fire, and so all of these players were just completely captivated from day one. We had somebody go out and buy, I think, $500 worth of miniatures on day two. So
Look what you did.
Everyone was just obsessed immediately, and it was a really, really easy thing from that time forward to convince, people within the company, and then we convinced the executives, hey, this is a thing we should do, and it really has just been a dream of Dungeons and Dragons fans for so long that we're really excited that we've had the opportunity to bring a digital tool set to life.
Thank goodness it's just in time. I do love sitting around the D&D table and having my phone open, having all my things organized, having all my player books right there. It's so handy. And that is certainly not how D&D started. I want to know, when did you both start playing, and what was it like then?
So I started at the beginning. My
You
brother.
were carving your character sheet in a stone tablet.
I grew up in the middle. I grew up in the middle of nowhere, so we had nothing. we didn't have cable. We barely got TV because I grew up on a farm in the middle of nowhere. But my brother, we would go to town once in a while. Took like hours to get there. But we would buy all the D&D first edition modules and the starter kit and like even the old school one we got our hands on. And it was the best thing because this is a chance for us to imagine our own stories, to have fun, and that just was part of my life. And we didn't have a lot of people around us to play with, but like the monster manual, which is full of like all this amazing art and all this lore.
It's gotten a little better maybe over the years.
Yeah,
you know,
well, I
like-
mean, yeah.
It was still
Better?
great. It was still great.
But like, I read it. I've read that thing easily 1,000 times and daydreamed. And you know that's what's the best part about D&D.
And then
is
you
there's-
have all the pictures of your own monsters, all the inspiration.
Oh, I would draw my own monsters.
course you
I
would.
draw all the characters I never got to play. I do that on D&D Beyond still. Only
Oh, you draw. I want to see this.
no, but you need to see the frequency of the number of characters I put on my account.
Oh, I can.
You're gonna
I
think
can, Todd.
Yeah, I have a.
This is like an intervention scene we're going to have to do later.
Yeah, you may want to tone that down, Todd. But so that's how I was introduced to D&D with my brother and I, and he ran me on my first adventure, and I didn't. No one gets it until they play. And he ran me on an adventure, and the minute I was making choices and they mattered, even as like an 8-year-old, just blew my mind. Hold what the story is, right? Your whole life. This is a movie. This is a film. 3-act structure. I'm free. I can be evil. I can be good. I can save the world. And when you get that, you're like hooked. It's freedom.
And it's permission. It's permission to tell stories, to imagine in a way that not a lot of games give you that sort of freedom. So I
Yeah.
think it opened the minds of generations, everyone who decided to play this game. When did you start playing, Adam?
I actually didn't start playing until high school, but my first introduction to Dungeons & Dragons was the beloved, no one can say any different, 1980s cartoon where they got on this crazy fair ride. And I remember I rode my first roller coaster at a very young age because I thought I would end up in some other world.
Like, I'm doing it. Today's the day.
Yeah.
So disappointed.
Very disappointed when I got off of that. All I did was throw up. So ultimately, introduced through the cartoon, and in those times, especially in the region of the world where I lived, if you can't tell from my accent, the Bible Belt, it was not something that D&D was not something that people talked about. It was not something that people in general played. And so I couldn't find a game or even understand what the game was at that time. But I fell in love with the concept of the imagination that was involved. And so throughout middle school, started more or less playing D&D, drawing maps on graph paper, asking the people to pick a number 130 or to see if they succeed, almost rolling dice without realizing it. And kind of ironically enough, a student minister introduced me to Dungeons and Dragons there in high school. It was like a homecoming for me, and it's just something that has never left. It's been my favorite game and really my favorite hobby, pastime, or anything else for 25 plus years at this point in time, and it's literally changed my life.
Clearly, we both have jobs.
Yeah, you're here at the descent. So I want to say it was coming to a point.
Yeah.
But I want to know, too, along the way, you both talk about D&D being a big part of your lives. And it's, for me, how I meet some of my friends, how I maintain relationships when I don't get to spend time in the same room as them, how we have new adventures even when we can't be together. What has been the most formative, important role that D&D has played in your life? Was there a moment or a person that you met that D&D brought you together?
I have two, and I'll break it down really quick. So I did a lot of video game coverage and all that kind of stuff for NBC and Forbes and BuzzFeed and all those other places. And then I met the D&D crew. I'm like, I've been wanting to do a video about D&D. And I met Chris Perkins and Mike Merles and Nathan Stewart and all these people, and they were so passionate and kind. And you don't find that everywhere or anywhere. And I'm like, no, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm doing with my life. I'm just going to make videos about D&D. I'm done. This is the career. And so that's been magical because these are my friends that I get to talk to and geek out and get into weird chair fights during live events. But
Yeah, that's a story.
That's another story. Chris
got a
Perkins
whole
and I
weekend.
may have pretended to be rams with chairs on their heads and attacked each other during a live show.
I'm sure context gives it.
Not sure why. Yeah.
One of the most amazing things is DMing Heroes of the Veil, which I was terrified about. This amazing cast of people and making new friendships that maybe I would have never had before. But honestly, dungeon mastering for my wife
Yeah?
is amazing. We just do a one-on-one game. She plays this amazing gnome named Whittle, and she goes on all these adventures, and she's kind of psychotic. She makes all these weird contraptions. She thinks Strahd is her mortal enemy. Well, immortal enemy. And so she has been actively attacking Castle Ravenloft, and she's just so creative.
She's brave. She's
Yeah.
brave.
Yeah, she's the loveliest human on earth, but also one of the most creative. And so, just running a game for someone you love, even in a single player capacity with D&D, is that's what we do every week.
And how else would you find out these things about her? That she would be the type to attack a
I
dragon.
know.
that she would eat the weird mushrooms.
I mean, I knew.
Okay.
But she you never know who someone sometimes you learn a lot about each other
Oh, yeah.
real quick when you play D&D, and that's great. Your friendships become closer through that.
Yeah,
Adam and I are definitely closer because we play in a game now.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
And how long has this game been running that you guys both play in?
Wow, how long?
I would say
6 months, maybe.
Yeah, it's been 6 months.
Somewhere around
It's
there.
been
Yeah.
a crazy 6 months. Yeah.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and everyone's developing and changing their characters, but it's been a blast. It's a great cast, so I don't have to do anything. So, yeah.
Well, tell me about the instrumental D&D moments.
Yeah,
in
I
your
think
lifetime.
for me, obviously, I've formed so many relationships over the years with people that are just near and dear to me, and D&D facilitates that in a way that really just no other game can. And I think that is because the real impact and effect it's had on me is just this understanding of what story is and what, how story not only is something that we passively listen to or read or watch. Story is something that we can participate in, and we all have stories, in real life or these imaginary tales when we're around the table with people, and just understanding that, we all can be heroes and we all can bring light to the world, and all of that has just been this incredible picture for me that I truly do. Even when we interview people now, obviously in this job, interview people and we ask them, do you like Dungeons and Dragons, because it's incredibly important. But even before that, people who play Dungeons and Dragons are just typically the kind of employee that we're looking for, because they're creative. They understand how to communicate. They understand how to adapt and be improvisational. And so the game teaches skills and teaches humanity to people unlike any other type of game out there. A video game is still going to be this limited, bounded thing, and Dungeons and Dragons is unlimited, and that sense of freedom and that understanding of story is something that really has just gotten into me and has really shaped the direction for really my entire life at this point in time.
I think you bring up an amazing point in that, D&D as a game, coming from the video game space and coming from competitive gaming, I'm always thinking of how is what I'm doing actually bettering the world. And coming into D&D, I had a similar reaction as you. Everyone here has a little bit more empathy, a little bit more sympathy, a little bit more understanding for their fellow man, and that's because they try on different people for fun. They get inside each other's heads, they tell each other stories, and I think it really teaches people how to grow. So, in the discussion of your employees, I mean, these are qualities you're seeing them come up with.
They are, and it's also because of the format of the game. Even if you are playing remotely, you're still playing with other human beings, and you're looking them in the eye, and you're seeing their faces, and it's not hidden behind this anonymity that you can find in some of the other fandoms and spaces out there. And so I do think that when you sit around the table, a social contract has to exist for that game to even persist and go forward. And I think that really does make everyone just a little kinder. And I genuinely believe, many people have said this, but if the entire world could play Dungeons and Dragons, the world would just be a better place.
It would be a better place because you're never typing noob.
Yeah.
Right. Like,
you're saying it out loud, maybe, but you're not typing
I'll
it.
be completely honest. I may not be the best human when I'm playing Overwatch or Apex Legends. It may bring out a darker side of me. But Dungeons and Dragons is a social contract, and I think people, especially in this day and age, with all the digital, all the social media, all the video games, we have all these digital ways to connect. But getting around a table and looking your friends in the eyes is something we're kind of desperate for, to unplug a little bit and connect in a different way. And that's why you're seeing this resurgence more than anything. We've got Stranger Things. We've got Game of Thrones is the most popular show for one more.
Plus a couple more days.
Yeah, we got hours we're down to.
We're down to a couple of days. But it's more than that. Like, people want to get back to something familiar. Just being with your friends and making eye contact. And, like our game, we're now around a table, but it was deeply emotional. We didn't even realize yesterday, Heroes of the Veil got together, our group, and it hit kind of all of us hard. We had not been at a table together. And you form these friendships, and it's deeply emotional. It's an amazing experience.
Are you getting emotional right now, Todd? Just a
I
little
am
bit.
always
It's okay. Just pull it out.
That's beautiful, man. That's emotion is story.
It is.
And I think D&D has helped a lot of us grow and evolve over the years. But D&D as a game has also grown and changed with us.
Oh yeah.
And you guys now are on the ground floor of some of those changes. So how have you seen the game itself change over the years?
Yeah, I think that the game itself, again, at its core, it is still just interactive storytelling and this structured make-believe. And, there have been various attempts to use technology because, technology is just improving at this rapid pace. And it's crazy to think about. We didn't even have smartphones. Has it been 12 years or something?
I know.
Maybe.
It's just, it's incredible how fast that has moved along. And there have been various attempts over the years to, kind of bring technology to Dungeons and Dragons. And the truth of that, now that we're starting to really get into that, is it's really hard. It's a little hard to bring this complexity of, some of the rule sets and some of the concepts that are going on with Dungeons and Dragons and bridge that technology gap without, removing the part of Dungeons and Dragons that is, that human interactive element. And so with D&D Beyond, something that we are really seeking to do is to just make sure that we're using the best parts of this emerging technology to enhance, supplement, and just hopefully make the game more convenient and customizable for people around a table. But we are not seeking in any way to remove the human imagination that is just essential to the D&D experience. And I think that as the game's evolved, we've seen various additions that have gone into a little more full-on video game. We've seen some attempts to try to capture some of that delight that people get in those other types of genres. But 5th edition in particular, this current edition of the game, is just so solid because it's taken all those lessons learned over the other editions of the game. It's made this shining jewel, I think, at this point in time, that is this incredibly flexible and at its core, simple game to pick up. And all the technology is really, with D&D Beyond, we're just trying to accentuate that and highlight the best parts of the game.
I think that's key, too, that you're not trying to put something between the people that are playing the game. And I feel that way when I use D&D Beyond as an accessory when I play, in that I reference it and then I'm back to the engagement.
It's so much easier to teach people how to play D&D, and it removes that fear factor.
Yeah.
And it's accessibility, too. It's accessibility for children to just immediately learn D&D. Or someone who is, I know a very interesting grandma who is deep into D&D. She's dungeon mastering. She plays now, and that's because of things like D&D Beyond. Because like you look at these rules and it's scary, but the rules need to be there. But when you go to D&D Beyond is making it easy. And when you make that in the background a little bit, like it's doing the math for you, it's organizing it for you. You can focus on character. You can focus on fun. And D&D Beyond has opened it up for so many other people because of that.
And on the accessibility front, it's been so heartwarming to understand that, as this new edition of the game has emerged, those who are sight challenged have been really unable to consume the content, and then D&D Beyond came along, and then screen readers can all of a sudden pick up the content, and people are able to access the game that weren't able to before, and that's made us kind of double down and say, okay, what else can we do to make D&D something that anyone, regardless of what you're working with or dealing with in your life, can come to the game, and new or veteran or any other kind of challenges that you have, D&D Beyond again is trying to just assist and support and enhance that experience, because again, if we can get everyone playing, the world's going to be a better place.
And that to that point, like 5th edition D&D, which is just really D&D now, is the most diverse of all the books. Everyone's represented. Everyone's shown. It doesn't matter what race, religion, creed, sexuality. Everyone's there, included. A lot of thought was put into this to be a world game. Not a game just for like Western mythology, right?
Right, yeah.
And I have a lot of friends who could not get into it when I was younger because they did not see themselves represented in that game before, and now they do, and it gets them actively excited. When you see the fighter is a black man, that matters. If you don't see yourself in the content, if you don't see yourself in the movies or the TV shows or the books, that someone that looks like you, sometimes you don't feel invited to that content. And that has made a tremendous difference.
Absolutely.
And that has brought so much more creativity to this space now.
And one step further, D&D has been a space that has been declaratively, we are accepting, we are open. I think that's one of the things that I've seen from leaders in the industry throughout the years that I've been following D&D is that there's not a lot of tolerance for shenanigans.
I'm vocal.
I like it.
I'm a little vocal about gatekeeping, yeah.
Well, guys, we have so much to cover all weekend long. I want to thank you for starting off the day here, Todd. Your insights will be checking in with you in just a little bit.
That's true.
For one of the Todd Talks.
That's true, and we got a dev update.
Oh,
and
yeah.
next up, we've got a dev update from Adam.
Big announcements, so definitely tune in for the dev update. We've got some special things happening.
All right, before we get into that, we have a quick video about soul coins. Check it out.
There's something unique in Baldur's Gate, the Descendant into
Super, guys. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
and that's soul coins.
Yeah.
Where do soul coins come from?
So soul coins